Seeing that girl has no intention of saying anything, I take it upon myself to initiate a conversation. So you're going to tell me that why have you been staring at me for the past 5 minutes? I ask her bluntly. The girl gives me no sign of having heard me. She keeps looking at me without any change in expression. Well, I say, are you going to say anything? Still no response. Well, I was right, this is pointless. I turn away to leave, but then suddenly I feel something pulling on my sleeve. When I turn back, I see the girl is now holding me by the shirt sleeve. There is a blue colored writing floating in midair in front of her face. The writing in the common language, it says simply wait. The writing then disappears. It is replaced by new text. This time saying, is it true what they say about you? What do you mean? I asked, looking at the girl, what do they say about me? Just like before, the previous face is now replaced by a new text. This guy has probably seen that one show. I forgot the name of the manga. Fucking hell. Yeah, I really don't remember the name of the manga. All I remember was that the main protagonist was apparently really ugly by the standards of that world, but he then gets power from like making a slave contract or something like that. It's a manga. I don't remember the name. It's probably in Japanese. That's why I don't remember. What do you mean? I just looking at the girl. What did they say about me? Just like before, the previous phase is now replaced by new text, which says they say that the reason why you were brought here is because you attacked a noble. Is that true? Well, technically, it was a friend of mine that attacked the noble, not me, I say. But I can't say I didn't wholeheartedly support his decision. But why attack a noble? The blue writing in the air says, didn't you know how dangerous it would be to attack a noble in Varathia, let alone kill one? We did, I say, but we were trying to free a slave girl, and either way, the bastard had it coming. The writing disappears again, but this time, there's a short pause before the next text appears. You don't seem like our nobles very much. You don't seem to like our nobles very much, do you? Well, I hate them with a passion, I say. Oh, our character does not. This is such bullshit. You know, this is the little things that I love in these stories. I hate them and I love them at the same time. Is because it makes no sense. The entire time my character was going like, I'm not going to attack that guy because it would cause trouble for us. I suppose he didn't like the situation, but still he didn't do shit, and now he's like, oh, I wholeheartedly supported my friend's decision. Like, what the fuck is this? This is some straight fucking bullshit. He's just trying to like prop himself up by doing this straight bullshit action. But whatever, let him toot his own horn, I suppose. The girl smiles. It's the first time I see an actual change in her facial expression. I see. Writing says, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Layla, and I've also been brought here because I tried to free a slave from a noble. The girl then extends a hand towards me. I'm Barry, as I say. I shake her hand. Pleased to meet you. Barry, I have a favor to ask of you. The writing continues. Could we continue our conversation inside my cell? There's something else I want to ask you. I'd rather do it in private. I will not go inside her cell. Fuck that. I'm not about to get stabbed or assassinated. Do not accept her. I'm sorry, but if you want to ask me anything, you're going to have to do it here. Ask. There's no reaction from Layla after hearing my words, but there is no text either for several seconds. Very well. The writing says after a while. Then I'll ask you the question here. There's another short pause before the next text appears. You're not really a Stillwater, are you, Barry? The writing says, oh my, that is problematic. Her new writing has certainly made me aware of my surroundings. I take a quick glance to see if anyone else is actually close enough to read what Layla is writing to me. Notice that Wilhelm has moved a little closer to us since I started to begin talking. He now seems to be studying me closely. Of course I'm a Stillwater, tell Layla. What would make you think otherwise? The fact that you're a Lasethi? Layla writes, I could have also say that, you know, I'm half Lasethi, and that's why I'm allowed to be Stillwater or something like that. The fact that you're a Lasethi, Layla writes. Fine, I get it. I tell Layla, we'll go inside your cell. Layla smiles. She opens the door to her room. As we both go inside, Wilhelm watches me attentively with a slight smirk on his face. You don't like to take no for an answer, do you? I ask Layla as she locks the door. I'm sorry, she writes. You're the one who started. Why wouldn't you come with me? Because I barely know you? I ask, was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know that you weren't luring me into a trap or something? I'm still not completely sure this isn't a trap. Actually, Layla looks at me, a bit shocked. A trap, Layla writes. How could I possibly gain from doing something like that? Aren't you aware that killing or injuring a teammate of your own division against the rules? Not really, I tell her. Nobody bothered to tell me the rules of the arena before coming here. But it's one of the standard rules of all arenas of Varathia, Layla writes. I'm not from around here, remember? I say. Layla sighs. She goes to sit on a bed. In that case, Layla writes, you better take care to not harm the organizers or any of the spectators. That is against the rules as well, of course. Is there any standard rules that I should be aware of? I ask. Layla writes, magic and ranged weapons are not allowed in the arena, and neither are items that can cast any spell. But don't worry, your stat booster doesn't count as a spell casting item. How does she even know all that? What the fuck? Is this Aiden? Is this Aiden hiding as fucking this girl? I feel like it. But don't worry, your stat booster doesn't count as a spellcasting item, a guest as well. The magic detector in the arena will ignore it. The girl laughs when she sees the look on my face. Even her laughter is silent. Yes, I know about your stat device, Layla writes while smiling. How? I ask her. Layla pulls a small trinket out of her pocket and shows it to me. It's a stat device just like my own. You see, I'm a stat booster. My stat booster is a little special. Layla writes, not only does it allow me to transform my thoughts into written words at will, it also lets me know when there are other stat devices in my area. My father is the one who made these modifications. When he first came in here, I almost bought your Stillwater story, but when I saw that you had a stat booster with you, I knew at once that you were a Lasethi. That would have no point in carrying such a device with you unless you are part of the only race that it was designed to work for. But the other goes for you too, doesn't it? I ask her, starting to finally understand what is going on, which means that you are also a Lasethi. Layla nods. Then how come you're in an arena in this? How come you're in here in this arena? I say, I have the impression the Lasethi have a higher status than nobility on this continent. And your father just pulled some strings in order to have you released? She looks down on the ground for a few seconds before her next text appears. My father and I are outcasts, she writes. We weren't treated the same as the other Lasethi. We've been in hiding for a few years. Just a few months ago, my father was sold to a noble and made into a slave. The reason why I'm here is because they caught me yesterday, shortly after I managed to rescue him. I see, I say. After they enslaved him, I never thought I'd see him again. Layla writes, but a week ago when the tournament began and I started to receive my first stat points, finally felt like I had a chance to free him. I waited until I could upgrade my speed, strength, combat techniques stats. Do not have any of those techniques. I could upgrade my speed, strength, combat technique stats to the maximum level of 3. Then I single-handedly defeated all the guards holding my father prisoner. I only wished I'd have waited until I could invest a little in toughness as well. Later then shows me the bruises on her arms and legs. After I freed my father, Layla continues, I made him promise that even if I got captured, he'd go to Ollendor without me and wait for me there. Ollendor is the only remaining city of Arathia where the Lasethi hold no power. In Ollendor, we would be safe from them. But the city guards caught me before I get out of the city. I held them off until my father could escape, but I was already weakened from the previous battle. I couldn't beat them all up. In the end, they tied me up and sent me here. I arrived in the cell yesterday in the afternoon, not long before you made your appearance. You mentioned that you had to wait until you could max your strength, stats, and combat technique, and that is your current level. Max level is 3, I say. But wouldn't that mean that you only had 9 available stat points until yesterday? Yes, and I still do, Layla asks. That is the reason why I wanted to talk to you privately. When I first saw how quickly I was gaining my stat points 1 week ago, I was amazed that that was... What? I was amazed that, but that was only because I did not know the tournament apparently had been announced many times in the past few months. But it's easy to miss these kind of announcements when you live mostly on the outskirts of the city in order to avoid detection. It was yesterday in the afternoon when the Gnome King around the first round of the tournament that I first found out about the tournament. That made me realize how much magical energy there really is around us. I would have expected the stat booster to gather a lot more energy given these circumstances, but I wanted to ask you was this: how many points did you get to spend on your stats? And why am I even telling her this? Why are we friends now? What the hell? 19 points, I answer. 19, Layla asked, looking somewhat shocked. She pauses. Then I suppose that my assumption was correct, Layla asks. It really is harder for a stat booster to collect energy inside the city. I've been noticing that too, I tell her. I've only gotten 2 points since I entered the city, and I used to get points a lot faster before, unless I was traveling through completely deserted areas. Maybe it's just because there aren't very many mages from the tournament who found their way to the city. Perhaps, Layla writes, or perhaps it's because there are other stat device wielders in the city, and the energy is being split equally among us. You think that there might be other Lasethi using stat devices in the city? Ask her. I don't know. Actually, this is actually, I have something I know which I did mention before, I feel like, but I feel like I didn't at the same time. Is that the stat boosters limit, as you can see, for her stat device is 3, for my stat device is 4. But in actuality, from what I can tell, the maximum limit of the stat device, that the maximum apex this stat device can hit, is actually 9 points. Because one of the achievements I got was the burner booster achievement, or whatever it's called, where you're like temporarily boost your stats. And in that situation, our stats went up to 9. Now that would suggest that the stat booster allows points up to 9 instead of 3 or 4 or whatever.